session, Judge Clarence Thomas will be questioned at that time by the Democrats on this panel, who are at this moment caught between the credibility of the charges by Anita Hill yesterday that she was the victim of sexual harassment at the hands of Judge Thomas, both in his conduct and in his language as well. And then today, we have the counterstrike by Judge Clarence Thomas that he is the victim of racial stereotyping, especially as it pertains to black males and their so-called sexual prowess. He had a lot of sympathy, of course, in the kinds of questions that he received today from the Republican interrogator, who was Orrin Hatch, who cited several instances, including a civil rights case in Oklahoma and other literature in which some of the more provocative phrases that Anita Hill used yesterday, that they popped up in those cases and in that literature as well. So that's where we stand at this hour. Enormous amounts of confusion, not just in that hearing room, but across the country about who's right in this case of not just he said, she said, but what the ramifications are for society as well and for the future of the United States Supreme Court. We want to show you now some of the highlights of this morning's testimony, beginning with Senator Leahy, who was speaking for the Democrats at that time as he questioned Judge Thomas.
Senator, I have witnessed incidents that I would consider sexual harassment and inappropriate conduct. And as chairman of EEOC, particularly in the workforce there, I was adamant that this conduct would not take place. And anyone who's worked with me understands that. I was adamant that it would not take place.
And in that being adamant, how did you translate that to staff or people who work for you, or in statements, speeches, memos, personal? I mean, how would you do it, Judge?
If you engage in it, you will be fired. Simple. Language throughout the history of this country, and certainly throughout my life, language about the sexual prowess of black men, language about the sex organs of black men and the sizes, etc. That kind of language has been used about black men as long as I've been on the face of this earth. And these are charges that play into racist, bigoted stereotypes. And these are the kind of charges that are impossible to wash off. And these are the kind of stereotypes that I have in my tenure in government and conduct of my affairs, attempted to move away from and to convince people that we should conduct ourselves in a way that defies these stereotypes. Senator, as I've indicated before, and I will continue to say this and believe this, I have been harmed. I've been harmed. My family's been harmed. I've been harmed worse than I've ever been harmed in my life. I wasn't harmed by the Klan. I wasn't harmed by the Knights of Camellia. I wasn't harmed by the Aryan race. I wasn't harmed by a racist group. I was harmed by this process which accommodated these attacks on me. If someone wanted to block me from the Supreme Court of the United States because of my views on the Constitution, that's fine. If someone wanted to block me because they felt I wasn't qualified, that's fine. If someone wanted to block me because they don't like the composition of the court, that's fine. But to destroy me, Senator, I would have preferred an assassin's bullet to this kind of living hell that they have put me and my family through.
Part of the emotional testimony today from Judge Clarence Thomas as he described his personal ordeal and also his victimization, as he described it, as the subject of racial stereotypes. We want to go to Washington right now, and NBC's Catherine Couric, who's there with two prominent members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, one for the Democrats, one for the Republicans, Pat Leahy of Vermont, Democrat, Ellen Simpson of Wyoming, Republican. Katie?
Thanks, Tom. Senator Leahy, let me start with you. Some people thought you were awfully meek in questioning Judge Thomas after his quite compelling testimony. Are you going to be more aggressive when we come back?
I've tried to talk in my questions of him just as my questions of Anita Hill, try to maintain exactly the same level, to be very short questions, very specific questions of them. We're going to have some members of the committee who feel they must give long, long speeches, push political hot buttons one way or the other. I'm opposed to that. We're here supposedly to try to get the truth. I think if you read the transcript of my questions of her, my questions of him, they are virtually the same. I just want to find out which one of them is lying, because one of them is lying.
A key point to me, I'm not a lawyer, but a discrepancy in their testimony that sticks out in my mind is her claim that they had no social relationship outside of work. And then Judge Thomas's claim that he would sometimes drive her home from work, go inside her apartment, have a Coke or a beer, and discuss or debate political matters. Are you going to pursue that line of questioning?
I think we have to. And one of the things I'd asked if there were logs on his car and others. Sure, there are some completely different statements on between both of them, including the meal in which he was supposed to, or he was supposed to have made the devastating statement that if this ever comes out, it'll ruin my career. One of them is telling the truth, one of them is lying. And we're not going to find out which one it is by histrionics and speeches on the part of the senators. We're going to find out which one it is by probing, careful questions.
What about the possibility that both may be lying?
And we'd really find out who's lying if we had both of them subjected to 103 days of this. This man has been subjected to 103 days of going through his life with a curry comb. And everybody has found everything they could find, and one person comes forward out of a 43-year-old life lived and blasts him out of the water in the most extraordinary way.
If she's telling the truth, why shouldn't she? If she is telling the truth.
Let's go back and look into her life with the same detail we've gone into his. Now, that may be repugnant to you, but it's called justice. What did she do? Where is she from? What did she do? What's it, 20 or 30? What these preferences? If you asked her every question you'd asked him, it would be
well, Alan, the fact is she was asked questions for nearly 6 or 7 hours yesterday. Let's not.
My friend, he was been asked questions for 103 days. So come on, let's keep this on a high plane.
In his hearing, she was subjected by both sides to questioning yesterday for 6 or 7 hours. He was, if I could finish, he's been asked some questions and then listening to a lot of speeches on your side of the aisle.
Well, my friend.
And also, she has also been subjected to FBI exam, and the FBI asked her, would she take a polygraph? She said yes.
She has upgraded and made more vivid her testimony at every step in the proceedings. Her first information of the FBI was rather tepid. No, he never did. His first FBI report was very clear. He said, I categorically deny everything here, and that's exactly what he's saying now. She gave a statement. She upgraded it the second time, make it more livid, more sexual, and then tops it off with 3 items yesterday that she'd never even referred to before.
You can have the last word, Senator Leahy.
I mean, talk about what he did. We've had discussions. Did he go to her home? Did they have that kind of social relationship? Yeah. He tells us that. He never told the FBI that. So, I mean, everybody, as you probe into questions over a series of hours, of course they're going to upgrade their story. Both of them do.
To disprove her allegations, don't you have to prove her motivation?
Yeah, you do, but you also have to go into her life. If you were a lawyer practicing law, you would go into this in detail in an adversarial case under the rules of evidence. And I don't know where. I know that would lead us to the truth. This won't.
All right, Senator Simpson, Senator Leahy, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Back to you in New York, Tom.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Senators. That's a microcosm of the debate that has been going on, not just in the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, but across this country. And as you can see, based on just that discussion, it doesn't get any prettier moment by moment, and I suspect that it will not for the balance of these proceedings. And the Senate is very much aware of the fact that they've got to move along and get a vote on this before too long, before the country is torn apart. We will have updates for you as they are required throughout the Notre Dame football game, and then we'll have an extended halftime report as well. But for now, that's where we stand with this extraordinary session on a Saturday of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Clarence Thomas to be questioned this afternoon by Democrats. He should finish mid-afternoon sometime. I'm Tom Brokaw, NBC News. Now back to Gail Gardner, NBC Sports. Gail?
Okay, Tom, thank you very much. An extraordinarily compelling 2 days, obviously. That is it for now from Notre Dame Saturday. Coming up, it is the kickoff of Pitt Notre Dame. We will have that right after these words from your local station.